Good evening. Welcome to all present here for today's webinar. Our today's topic is saving 100 billion lives by disruptive cultivated mid-tech, and today's speaker is Kadalwani Krishnan sir. Hello sir.
Yeah, hi.
Welcome sir. Welcome.
Yeah.
Can we start the session?
Shall we? Okay.
Yes. Okay sir. I will give some brief introduction of CSMB.
Okay.
The Chamber for Advancement of Small and Medium Businesses, and our head office is BKC at Mumbai. We are working with MSMEs. This is a MSMEs, some numbers. And our mission is to work closely with all stakeholders for advancement of micro, small, and medium businesses. And our vision is to make MSMEs more resilient and make them stronger backbone of Indian economy. This is our core team. Mr. Chairman, Prabodh Halde sir is our chairman, having 28 years experience in food industry. Our Secretary General, Mr. Umesh Kamble sir. Our president is Nilesh Lele sir, director Amod Sargaonkar sir. This is our social media handlers. We are available on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Every year we publish quarterly magazine, Purna Brahma, having 3 lakhs plus our outreach, and you can download it from our website also. This is our food tech Pathshala. It's e-learning portal. This is our few events we conducted in last year, 2022. We are strongly partnered with the Anufood India for Anufood Expo. These are our few events conducted in last year. Currently, CSME and MSME conducted Z certification awareness program in Mumbai and Pune. This is Pitch to Fork event conducted in Dubai. These are buyer-seller meet we conducted every year for our CSMB members. These few expos. This is our currently published magazine, Purna Brahma. As contact number of our president, Nilesh Lele sir and Amod Sargaonkar sir. Now I will briefly introduction of speaker. Kadalwani Krishnan sir is an eminent member of Indian pharma industry with experience across major realms of the field of doctor. Dr. Krishnan has 18 years of professional experience in both industrial and academic settings. Sir has successfully planned, proposed, and managed product life cycle of various therapeutic drugs in industrial scale. His key research expertise spans across enzymology, peptides, and proteins and cell culture. Currently, Sir is co-founder and CEO of Miltech Private Limited, working of deep tech towards addressing the global environment and food security. Prior to Miltech at various pharma companies, Dr. Krishnan provided strategies for manufacturing biopharmaceutical products, in particular product selection and launch. Sir has led the regulatory affairs and clinical trials. Academically, as a postdoc fellow at Harvard University, Sir research on development of proteomic network to understand the cell as an integrated system. Sir holds an PhD in biochemistry from University of Cambridge, UK, and MS from Anna University. Now I request to Sir, please start the session.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Hemalata. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just please allow me to share the screen. If you could
Yes.
share, transfer the,
You can share.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Just let me know once you are able to see the full screen.
Yes, sir. Screen is visible.
Okay. Okay. First of all, I thank Hemalata and Nilesh and the CSMB for providing this opportunity. But more importantly, I thank you all for investing your valuable time in understanding the potential of cultivated meat technology and the impact that this is likely to bring to the industry. My name is Cultivated Krishnan, and I'm one of the co-founders of a company called as Meal Tech Private Limited, and we are based out of Bangalore. So before we move on to the science, I thought we should know or let you know that we are not alone who believe that food security in terms of sustainability is the need of the hour. Like us, these people, they trust the technology will have far-reaching positive impact on the society, the technology in terms of cultivated meat technology. As you can see from the representation here, philanthropists like Gates, business tycoon like Branson, tech companies like Mitsubishi, several NGOs, sports personalities, celebrities have invested in some of these companies because it will not only have social impact, but it can make very, very profitable business. A few of these companies have already reached unicorn valuation, and some of them are nearing to the valuation of unicorn. So if I am able to deliver the value and the potential of cultivated meat technology rightly, I believe some of you will find your place in this ecosystem. So let's begin. Historically, meat has been, or it was used for hunger, but now it's no longer a functional food. It has become a commodity product. Let's say it's now an emotional product. Why I say this? I say this because we consume meat to celebrate during our get-togethers, during rituals, carving, or during outing. Even some of us go out for getting toys that come along with the foods. Now, the drivers for the transformation of this from functional food to emotional food are listed in the center. These are taste, convenience, accessibility, health reason, affordability. As I said, indulgence is one of the key things here, which is indulgence in terms of meat is rewarding and also filling. Now, this is how and why the transformation has happened from functional product to an emotional product. Now, why am I, okay, why is this not, yeah. So why am I telling you all these things? So let me put things in perspective. We all know globally we are 8 billion humans on the earth, and out of this 8 billion, 1.5 billion are vegetarians. In 2020 alone, about 70 billion animals were slaughtered for consumption. On the right, you can see, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization, that's FAO and FAO, UN and OECD, the global meat consumption is going to increase up to 70%. That's from 340 million tons in 2020 to about 570 million tons in the near future. The blue bar in the graph represents the meat consumption, and the red is the number of animals slaughtered. And as you can see, in 2030 itself, we will require 420 million tons of meat by slaughtering 90 to 100 billion animals. Now, the constraint of, rearing, feeding, breeding, and slaughtering, the higher, or let's say additional number of animals becomes very unsustainable, because we have very limited natural resources. like land and quality of water, which is going to remain constant. Now, despite the uncertainty factor here, our craving for meat, increasing population, increase in income, accessibility, and convenience to have meat will ensure that the demand for meat is going to continue and grow. Now, during the transformation, which I showed earlier, we have done terrible things. One of the things that we have done is abuse of antibiotics and hormones. Data demonstrates about 70% of antibiotics sold in the market are used in industrial agriculture, animal agriculture. And it has become a huge global health issue as it is giving rise to antibiotic-resistant microorganisms. It's a very dangerous situation. As you can see, about 1.2 to 5 million deaths are attributed to drug-resistant microorganisms. And as you can see on the right now, how humans have changed the life cycle of animals that we are breeding for our own consumption. Now, to quantify the abuse of antibiotics, we are talking about 100,000 tons of antibiotics that was used in 2020 alone. So it's a very dangerous situation, and it has become a global health concern. Last but not the least, the environmental toxicity. The food sector alone contributes to about 35% of greenhouse gas emission. And within this 35%, 60% is almost attributed to meat and dairy industry. And thousands of literature have already been published on this and saying that industrial animal agriculture is toxic to environment. So from the data points that I showed, it's very clear that the current production methods of meat are unsustainable to cater to the future meat demands. I will quickly reiterate the points. One, we will have a demand-supply gap due to increased consumption. Second, it becomes unsustainable because of abuse of antibiotics, which is again creating global health issues. And finally, the environmental toxicity that I spoke. Now, apart from these things, I would like to add one more thing. The pandemic has caused or has the capability to stall the entire value chain or distribution system of the meat industry. You may have heard about epidemics in animals like mad cow diseases or blue bird flus, which are affecting. So these are the areas or the times that can disrupt the entire supply chain of the meat. Hence, what we are trying to say is there is a very urgent need for a solution that is able to cater to the future meat demands. It should be, process should be efficient, or technology should be efficient, that is environmental friendly with regard to land, water, or air. And solution should not only be sustainable, it should also be scalable. And this is where meal tech has the capability to provide solutions and bring a radical change to the industry. Now, I will quickly just introduce you to the meal tech company, and we are inspired by the growing food demands. Our vision is to be a global cultured meat brand backed by sustainable and environmental friendly technology. So we say this as we also have our mission of providing cultured meat at affordable price as a sustainable alternative to the currently available methods. In short, to put things in perspective, we want to build a brand like KFC in cultured meat segment or industry. Okay, so this is the problem that we have. So when you look at the currently available technologies or emerging technologies addressing these issues, these can be bucketed into three categories. Number one is the plant-based meat. As the name suggests, these are obtained from plant and processed to look and taste like meat. However, the taste, smell, and texture is not equivalent to meat yet. Moreover, the plant-based meat products will become a commodity product, are already becoming a commodity product. So there is little or no IP around the product to protect it or act as a technology barrier to new entrants. The second category is the cultivated meat technology or the cultivated meat category. This is generation of genuine meat by growing animal cells without the need for killing animals, wherein you take some samples of the cells and you grow them. These are non-GMO products. Again, this cultivated meat industry is also facing three major challenges with respect to availability of cell lines, cost of growth media, and scalability. We'll talk about these in a minute. And the third is the fermentation-based alternative proteins. These are derived from microorganisms such as E. coli and fungus. These are protein alternatives to produce peptides and protein, but not meat as such per se. So it is very clear that, looking at the emerging technologies, it is very clear that the near future or in future, the meat will not only come from dead animals. We'll have other disruptive technologies that will provide alternative source of meat. Right? So we are focusing on cultivated meat technology, and these are some of the reasons that we strongly believe we should focus on them. Number one, cultivated meat technology is a very, very powerful technology. It is you are in a position to generate multi-species factory. You can have beef, pork, chicken, or seafood from the same technology in the same factory. The technology also allows you to manufacture or produce products that cut across sectors. What I mean by this, you need not necessarily produce products that are used for human consumption. You can cut across products for across sectors for the manufacture of food for pets, or you can have fish foods or fish food additives. I should also emphasize on the fact that each of these segments are multi-billion-dollar opportunities. For instance, meat industry for human consumption in itself is about $1,200 billion market. Pet food is about $100 to $200 billion market. So each of these representation here is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity that we are talking about. The third advantage of this technology is that you can manufacture or produce nutritionally dense food. What I mean by this, if we think about this in an analogy, for milk, we have skimmed milk, low-fat milk, or semi-skimmed milk, or full cream milk. Similarly, we can optimize the level of fat present in the meat. You can have semi-fat, low-fat, or no-fat meats. That's the power of the technology. Secondly, what we are saying is it's the process of manufacturing of cultivated meat in terms of process efficiency. It's far much better than the traditional methodologies that we have adopted. And finally, the environmental toxicity that we spoke about. This cultivated meat technology is eco-friendly. It produces about very, very low gas GHG, greenhouse gas emissions, about 80% less greenhouse gas emissions. And it uses only about 1% of the land that is required for doing traditional farming. And also it requires 96% low water consumption. So it has many advantages over the traditional methodologies. And on the sustainability front, it has ease of production, it is cruelty free, it's ethical to do. Therefore, what we strongly believe is this: among the available technologies, sustainable technologies that I showed, we strongly believe that IP generating technologies such as cultivated meat product is a much better bet than other technologies, as it will act as a technology barrier to the new entrants. you can generate so many IPs that will act as a technology barrier to the new entrants. Hence, we are focusing on cultivated meat technology. And the ultimate aim of this technology, or what we want to do or achieve, is this: subtracting billions and billions of animals from the equation of meat production. So now, this is the schematic representation of cultivated meat technology, wherein you take a small piece of meat, or let's say small piece of muscle, or biopsy from animal. It could be a beef, it could be a pig, or it could be from chicken. So it entirely depends upon what you want to manufacture. You would take a small piece of biopsy from any source or model which you want to cultivate, and from there you establish a cell line. Once you have established the cell lines, you put the cells onto the fermenter along with the media to grow in size and numbers. Once you have a good quantity of cells generated in the fermenter, you allow them to mature and shape it into tissue, and these tissue are further packaged and supplied as meat. Now, this is no longer a concept now. Now, in 2013 itself, Mark Post is a scientist from Netherlands, have already demonstrated that this is possible, and this is the first burger that was made. And the problem is this: the cost of manufacturing of this burger was $330,000. But having said that, that's the R&D cost that he incurred to manufacture that. Having said that, it has opened the gates for the entire industry. It has opened the industry in itself, cultivated meat technology industry or meat industry, because it has got various advantages which we spoke about earlier. Now, apart from this, there is on the right, what I'm showing is the production time cycle advantage. Here on the right, what I'm showing is the time cycle to deliver the product. As you can see, with using cultivated meat, we can deliver the product within 5 to 6 weeks, whereas it will take about 3 months to deliver, or up to 12 weeks to deliver a chicken, and about 30 months to deliver a cow or beef. Apart from this time cycle, the cultivated meat technology also has the advantage in terms of high throughput. So at this juncture, what we think, or the meal tech is believing, is this: there is a huge opportunity in terms of solving the issue of how to bring down the cost of manufacturing of cultivated meat. That's what we are targeting. And to do this, what we believe is there is an endless opportunity for students, entrepreneurs, investors, and business people. This is a schematic representation of entire value chain of the development of cultivated meat. So I will quickly take you through one by one so that we understand things in detail. So first of all, is to begin with, you need to have a developed cell lines of your interest, cells of your interest. You want to develop a beef, you want to develop chicken, you want to develop pork or seafood, anything. So one needs to develop. Now, the problem in the industry is this: commercially, these cell lines are not available so that you can just pick it up from the wrap and start your own business. So one needs to develop these cell lines. So what I'm trying to say is there is a huge opportunity for scientists, students, and entrepreneurs to be able to develop cell lines and supply it to the market. Let's say you have established the cell lines now. Now you will need media to be able to grow these cells in huge number and scale it up. Now, the currently available media for cellular agriculture are adopted from pharma industry. And these are very bloody expensive. And so there is a huge scope for development of low-cost food-grade media. It's yet another big opportunity for scientists, students, and everybody to, work upon. The third is the scaffolds. You see, in the body, the cells are, let's say, muscle cells are attached to each other to form a tissue, and the attachment or adherence of cells makes them happy and grow. Now, when you take out these cells and put it in fermenter, when they are not attached to each other, they die. They don't develop, they don't grow or differentiate. So scientists use products called as scaffolds, wherein you provide a platform for the cell to adhere to. Once it gets adhered to these scaffolds, they are able to multiply, because they are assuming that they are still in the tissue and in contact with the other cells. So these scaffolds provide a platform for the cells to adhere and grow. But the problem is this, or the opportunity is this. Currently, edible and commercially available scaffolds are not there. I mean, at least at a proven scale, where it is commercially feasible and available and ready to use. Now, people have tried many things, and still they are trying what sort of scaffolds can we use. Now, people are trying various plant-based scaffolds and mushroom-based scaffold. Even they are trying fungus to do this. The point here is, again, there is a huge scope for doing research or coming out with products which can be converted into business. Now, next is the bioreactors. So to do this at a scale where you can supply to the entire globe or the people who want to consume meat, we need bioreactors of millions and millions of liters, which I'll show you in a minute, the data for this. And right now, what we have is we are adopting bioreactors from pharma industry, or let's say some of the industries which are producing pesticides. So these are the reactors that we are adopting or adjusting to. But food grade bioreactors, which are not totally very different, but automated food grade systems are yet to be evolved. So there is again scope for engineers, mechanical engineers, and manufacturers of steel and other products. There's a huge scope for them to, build these products. Now, next is let's assume you have the fermenter also ready with you. Now you want to have a product strategy, how you want to manufacture this. Now the question is this. So you have fermenters. What sort of fermenter are you looking for? You want to have a batch fermentation, or you want to do a continuous fermentation, or you want to adopt a new technology for printing the meat itself. There are companies out there who are 3D printing meat. For example, there is a company called as Stakeholders Meat, which is doing 3D printing of meat. So point is, product development strategies needs to be defined, which is evolving now. So there is a huge scope for the students and the scientists, again, to ponder upon it, think on it, come up with solutions that can be adopted by the industry. Now, let's say you have the industry now, you have the fermenter, what you have done. It's now you have to cut across geographies as well. So you have a fermenter here, established way. Now you need to replicate this model across geographies. And you need to integrate and harmonize all the processes. And this level of automation is still missing, and it's evolving. So there is again opportunity for every one of us to come out with products and processes and solve the issues of the industry. So now next, let's say you're done your process. Now there is a challenge of customer accepting your product. So now you need to make the sensory features of the product. Say, for example, the way your product is getting cooked, the softness of your product, the texture of your product, the smell, touch, packaging, so on and so forth. The sensory experience of your product needs to be worked upon. So people are trying their best to provide good quality ones. So it's still an open area for all the scientists and researchers, industrialists to, work upon. I can go on and go on, but in the best interest of the time, what I'll do is I'll discuss one or two key points in detail. Say, for example, let's take media. Okay. So media generally what comprises the cell media, cell culture media comprises of two components. One is the basal media and other is the growth hormones. So the combination of this, growth hormones are used at 10%, generally 5 to 10% for the media, so as to grow the cells. So basal media will keep the cells happy, just make them live. Growth factors will enable them to grow, divide, differentiate. So for us to have multiple copies of cells and grow, we need a combination of basal media as well as the growth media. The point here is the cost of 1 liter of growth media will cost you about $170. Now, if can you imagine if it is $170 per liter? It's very, very expensive. Now, if you are able to correlate this with the image that I showed you earlier, the post of Mark Post, image of Mark Post, he was able to manage only one burger at $330,000. So, but as the technology and the time evolved, so various companies have developed their own in-house media to bring down the cost, to be able to, make this commercially viable product. Now, innovation is the key here. So what we have done at Mealtech is we are targeting to develop the media which would allow the production of meat which is less than or around $10 per kg. That's what we are targeting. Now, for the, I've been told that there are going to be many students, so I thought I should put this slide and to show them why this FBS is so expensive, why this is about $1,000 to $1,100 per liter. This is expensive because of following reasons. The way it is obtained. So, sorry, any comments? So, okay, so this is because of the way it is obtained and the limitations there. So what happens here is that you take the cows that come to, the pregnant cows that come to slaughterhouse, the calves from these pregnant cows are taken out and their heart is punctured. From the heart, you collect the blood and from the blood, you separate out the serum. And then you dispose of or just throw the calves or use it as you want. So this entire process is a very painful and cruel process. And also the availability of pregnant cows that are coming to the slaughterhouses. So the unavailability or the media, which is very, very expensive, makes it, commercially not feasible for the use of the available commercial FBS, because you want to, you will end up spending more in manufacturing of product, and the value in the market for that product is hardly about 300 to 500 rupees per kg. And second of all, there is a potential of, having contaminations. It's been well documented. And also what happens is there is a batch to batch variation which occurs during the collection of FBS. It's because of the health of the cow, how it was fed, how the blood was taken, and so on and so forth. So for the benefit of students and the staff or researchers, now people are trying alternative ways to bypass FBS. Now, what they are looking at the alternative ways, can we have the growth factors separately? The growth factors could be recombinant ones, which are done by rDNA methods, and or it could be a plant-based extract or nut-based extract. Can we use mushroom or fungal extracts or some other fetal serum of other organisms? So these are the trials that people are trying to do and to achieve or bypass expensive and cruel FBS. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there is tremendous opportunity for engineers as well. So let's say, assuming that we capture only 0.4% of the meat market, this would require, there is research that has been done, how much capacity and how many fermenters and what scale fermenters would require. According to that survey, it is demonstrated that at least 22 times higher capacity or 22 times of fermenters would be required that are globally present now and currently being used by pharma industry. So the point I'm trying to make here is huge opportunity for engineers and management workforce and business creators here to, take up this opportunity. So at Meatltech, what we are doing, we are trying to make cultivated meat technology more sustainable. So what we are proposing and what we have done is development of cost-effective in-house media that can be used for scale-up of manufacturing of meat. That's what we have done. By now, you may have known that this does not require expensive farm. No animals are needed or to be killed. We don't, and it also protects biodiversity. We do not use antibiotics, and the quality is well assured, and also which is eco-friendly and sustainable. That's what we are working on, and we would love to continue. So far what we have done, let's switch gears and look into some interesting things that we have achieved so far. First of all, using chicken as a system, we have demonstrated our ability to execute cultivated meat technology. And during this journey, we have solved one of the key challenges of the industry, that is availability of low-cost media. So the media, we have developed an in-house low-cost media, and we call it as Mexol. Okay. On the left, what you see is the cells that are grown on commercially available media, that is DME plus FBS, and cells grown on Mexol. Here, bottom, you can see the images of the cells which are growing happily in commercially available media, as well as our Mexol. This is the image of harvested cells, chicken cells, harvested chicken cells. One thing that you may have observed is the cost of growth media that I skipped. As I mentioned, the cost of growth media, commercially available growth media, is about $170 per liter, whereas our growth media would cost hardly about $8 per liter. So we have drastically, or let's say radically, brought down the cost up to about 90% reduction. And this is one of our USPs in increasing our operational efficiencies. All right. So this brings us to the commerce part of the business, or let's say this is the snapshot of what's going in the industry and how big is the industry. So this is the snapshot of reports from various companies, and Big Four. Some of them were from Big Four, Barclays. Some of them from investing companies, Jeffries. So the point here is this: at good penetration, high yield penetration, the market for cultured meat is about $500 million. So by 2030, if you look, we are looking at the cultivated meat to be on $20 to $30 billion already, because it's just starting to elevate. And this is again a snapshot of why there is and how much there is interest. This is a snapshot of investments that are being currently made in alternative meat segment, or let's say smart protein segments. This is the distribution here. Last year, about $3 billion were invested in smart protein businesses, and 300 deals were signed off. On the right, what I'm trying to show is this: the investment across geographies. As you can see, most of the investments are done in Americas, and where minimum or the least in Southeast Asia or Asian countries, Asia Pacific region. And we believe this is a huge opportunity for us, to raise funds in terms of, building the capacity or an ecosystem for cultivated meat technology in India. If you look at the market segmentation, how big is the market? What are the numbers which are looking like? As I mentioned, the global meat market is valued about $1,200 billion. The cultivated meat industry, let's say total available market for cultivated meat, is estimated to be around $4.2 billion. And research on the right, you can see some of the data from Good Food Institute. The research demonstrate that the serviceable available market, that SAM, for any company in India would be about $1,000 million. And if you assume that you are going to have just 20% of that, we are talking about making a $200 million company. That's any one of us can build around this. That's the market size that we are looking at. We at Mealtech, we have very simple business model. We would like to focus on research, develop IPs, generate one working model, and license it out. And we can also have B2B model for the supply of meat as necessary. Right. So these are the target customers and consumers, as everyone of you may know, that who buys it, who would buy it? It could be the meat sellers, or it could be the ready-to-cook food companies, or exporters, or QSR, quick service restaurants. These are the target customers. And consumers, when you see who are our consumers, consumers are going to be non-vegetarians and flexitarians, the people who would love to have assured quality food, quality assured food. Next generation, as the more educated generation, is looking for quality assurance of the food. Or the people who want to have nutritional values, skimmed or low fat, high fat, dense food, nutritionally rich food. Also, we can supply to the countries which have low resource, the natural resource, let's say constraint of land, water, and air. One example is Singapore. And for Mexol, it's going to be R&D labs and other food companies who want to come up in cultivated meat area. All right. So these are some of the companies that I have handpicked to show their interest in different models and also the technologies which they are adopting for. These are big companies who are already far ahead of us. But the thing is this: Mealtech is the only Indian company that has a unique combination of, number one, low-cost growth media, established chicken line, and working on co-cultures. Along with this, as Indians, or as in India, so what we will have is access to economic and skilled labor force. We'll have access to economic utilities, be it water or electricity. And, we already have a well-established business model or export model of meat to Southeast Asia as well as the Middle East. So what we believe is combination of all these will provide process efficiency to Mealtech to achieve global leadership. That's what we believe, and we are working towards. Now, when we look at the regulatory approvals, how is it, where is it approved, who is buying, who is eating? So right now, Singapore is the only country which has approved the selling of cultivated meat. So Singapore, so Good Meat by a company called as Eat Just has launched its product there. So it's already being sold and people are consuming it. FDA has reviewed the document of two companies, Good Meat and Upside, and it has communicated that cultivated meat is safe for human consumption. And so it's already done. Now the USDA is reviewing the document or dossier to give the approvals, whether it is commercial, whether the manufacturing process is okay and safe. So once they approve it, it will be adopted, and the entire America will be open for cultivated meat. So Korean company, Korea is also looking at developing guidelines for cultivated meat. Some of the Korean companies have already, managed to produce a huge amount of cultivated meat. Here on the right, I'm showing a small company startup has produced 10 kgs of cultivated meat. So Israel is also effectively and working rigorously towards the development of, putting together a structure to cultivated meat so that everybody adopts it. So in India is waiting to have approvals, guidelines drafted and products approved in FDA. Once that is done, or EMA or other countries are done, it will be easily absorbed by India, and we will have a regulatory guidelines or framework. We'll follow them. Right. With respect to what's happening in India, just one or two slides more. So what's happening in India and how is it poised? So India strongly, we believe that we could be the global hub for, supply of meat, biopharma industry. So as we believe that as we have done for the generic industry, we are the global leaders in generic drugs. Similarly, we can be the power hub for generation of meat. We can do that. So what I'm showing here is recently, very lately, the Indian government is keen on developing this. So it has also, it's promoting startups, and then about 611 crores have been released for incubators as startup fund, startup seed fund. How do you say? Startup India Seed Fund Scheme. So they have done this. And earlier, what has happened is CCMB and National Research Center for Meat, NRC, they were provided a grant about 4 to 5 crores from DVT for the development of sheep cells. And the government of Maharashtra with ICT was trying to develop a Center for Excellence for Cellular Agriculture. And there are multiple startups or incubators being, promoting or enabling startups to be nurtured in their incubation center. And we are seeing a lot of support. And in India, we have been approached by some of the investors already. So we see that there is huge amount of interest, willingness, and funds available. All we need to do is do good research and come out with innovative ideas for solving some of the problems that I mentioned earlier. So this is something about the impact that Mealtech wants to bring about, small impact, that our output is what we are looking at is about 280,000 kgs per year. So what we are saying is about, if we take about 100 grams as a serving, we would have 28 million dishes served. And as on the right, you can see we would have not even slaughtered a single animal, and no antibiotic used, and land use, and other, it is environmental friendly. The point here is Mealtech envisions to make cultivated meat technology sustainable. And once we are able to do that, and anybody who is able to do that, or we together can develop an ecosystem, we will have the power, or we will have the technology to save the lives of 100 billion animals and also the environment. So this is our team. Dr. Bindu is my co-founder. We are based out of Bangalore, and we have our scientific collaborator and mentor from Canada, Professor Alexandro. He specializes in food profiling, especially lipid profiling. So we are working with him or collaborating with him to co-culture muscle cells and fat cells, adipocytes and myocytes. So this is what we are trying to do. Ugandar is our financial advisor and CFO. This is our small team. We are looking for some people to join our team. So we are open for collaborations and we are looking for smart people. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you,
Hello.
sir. Yes, thank you, sir. Participants, do you have any questions? Please type your question in chat box or unmute yourself and ask the question. Our advisor, Mr. Prakash Kondekar, sir, with us. Sir, do you want to speak?
Hi.
In Kondekar, sir?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. It was actually, I was a little late joining the session, but it was a wonderful session. And the need of the hour is the plant protein. And in that direction, this presentation was very much needed. Thanks for that nice presentation. And I always see that chamber will be trying to help out the people in the direction of vegan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else? One question in chat box.
Yeah. It's a very interesting question. I saw it's about will it be called as vegetarian or vegan? So, I mean, the cultivated meat technology or this thing is entirely evolving. So we do not see it why we should call it different. We are not targeting at meal tech. We are not targeting vegetarians or vegans. This is meat. So we are not differentiating it as cultured meat or something. We are calling it as a meat. It is coming from animal cells and it is meat, real meat. So we are not going to differentiate between vegans or vegetarians. So it's what we are saying is we are targeting from business perspective, we are targeting only non-vegetarians or flexitarians. Good questions are pouring. Thank you so much. Right, there is another question about taste, right? These are cells exactly coming from the tissue of an animal. Now, would the taste be exactly similar to what we are getting a fresh cut from the industry or the butcher shop? May not be. The reason is this. We are going to introduce, or the industry is going to introduce, a scaffolding platform. And that scaffolding platform for now is not the natural ones in the sense which are available in the body. So it is going to, I mean, to begin with, it will taste different. But as the time progresses, we will have the taste and texture exactly matching to the raw tissue. That's the question. Oh, it was nice, innovative. Thank you. What level of laboratory? Right. So there is one question which says, what level of laboratories of manufacturing facility required to start this type of cell? See, there are multiple stages to start. If you are doing an R&D, any R&D would do with cell culture facility. But when you are scaling it up, now you need to ensure, generally, you need to ensure there is no contamination, otherwise the entire batch goes to drain. So how do you ensure that? When you will try to slightly adjust or modify your system to accommodate GMP facility kind of norms into it, so that you are safe and you are working according to the GMP norms. That is one level. Otherwise, it's a food grade system. I mean, and it is consumed oral. It's not just injected into the systemic, and which is already been established as safe by FDA already. And so it's right now, everybody is trying to build at industrial scale, which is not built anywhere yet, except for one or two big companies like Upside and or Just Eat. So they are building it up. Last week, the Musa Meat is also developing another factory. So if we adopt the GMP norms, we should be fine. Okay. What levels of laboratories? As these are animal cells, how are the infections or disease causing organism if not with antibiotics? So, okay, the question is this. You are taking an biopsy and you are trying to cultivate it, and there could be infection, correct? If I understand, how are you dealing with it? There are multiple ways to deal with it. So what you can strategize as a scientist. So initial phases, you can, one way is that you can have antibiotics in the earlier passages. And as the passages grow, you can take off the antibiotics, number one. Number two, if it is infectious, it will kill the cells in itself. It will contaminate, right? There is no question of cell growth and allowing it to multiply happily and going to the next passage. So you will be able to identify that. Number three, you can do QC checks. There is already a list of bacteria that you need to check as a quality measure. So you can do PCRs and see what sort of, are you having those sort of infections in your biopsies. Are these okay, next question. Any other questions that I may have missed?
No.
Okay, this is a very good question. What about the needed educational qualification? What sort of basis knowledge to jump into the industry? Okay, as I showed the entire value chain of the entire industry for developing cell lines, for example, I'll take one or two examples and let you know. For developing cell lines, one needs to understand and have hands-on experience on cell culture. That's all. I mean, degree is like master's, bachelor's, or whatever. If the person is able to do routine passaging and cell culturing for me, I would have him as an assistant in the lab. Secondly, but as a scientist, if I want to characterize or characterize my cell lines, I need to understand what genes I need to look at, what sort of expression I'm talking about, gene expressions which I need to look, what sort of infection I need to do. So these are the things. For this, I need to have certain level of understanding of cell culture. So that I believe masters or PhD would be good enough to begin with in terms of qualification and knowledge level. So this is with respect to the cell culture, cell line development. And once you go to the scale-up processes, as usual in any pharmaceutical company, you will have a qualified plant head under which you will have MSc level engineers or product managers, and below that you will have casual laborers to do any production facility. Normal, regularly, that's how it goes. That's what I see. And that's one segment, production. Then you have export guys, I mean, regular distribution and network of your product. Then you will have sales. So these are the different things. But initially, yes, if it were to be what you want to look at is the question. If you're talking about the guy who handles the entire system, yes, PhD and cell culture would be advisable.
So thank you, Mr. Krishnan. It was a nice presentation, and thanks, Hemilata, also for conducting nice sessions. Great.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining, sir.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Bye.
for an excellent presentation, and thank you for all for joining the today's session. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, everyone.